Stop right there. Before you scroll away, ask yourself something uncomfortable. If being a good person truly guaranteed success, why do you see dishonest, mediocre people rising faster than you? If loyalty really kept you safe, why have you been betrayed by people you helped? If patience always paid off, why are you still waiting while others take the prize? You've been told all your life that goodness equals reward. That if you work hard, stay polite, and keep your head down, the world will notice. But what if that's a story designed to keep you manageable? What if society has lied, not out of malice but out of convenience, to create a population of predictable, compliant people while the shrewd play a very different game? Goodness is like fire. In a fireplace, it warms and comforts. Left unguarded, it can burn your entire house down. The same trait that can illuminate your character can also become a weapon in the hands of those who exploit it. Your decency, your patience, your trust, they're powerful forces, but without strategy, they're also vulnerabilities. How many times have you explained yourself to someone who didn't respect you? How often have you waited for recognition that never came? How many good people do you know who are quietly punished while the ruthless rise? This isn't about abandoning your values. It's about waking up, about realizing that the game you've been told you're playing, the fair, merit-based one, was never the real game at all. Until you see the truth, you'll keep losing to people who shouldn't even be in the race. Centuries ago, in the brutal swirl of Renaissance politics, one man dared to write what everyone else whispered. Niccolò Machiavelli. As a diplomat and advisor in Florence, he watched good rulers fall and cunning ones thrive. He saw how mercy without strategy invited betrayal, how loyalty without leverage became a trap, while others preached virtue. Machiavelli documented reality. In The Prince, he revealed that appearances, timing, and decisive action, not mere goodness, determined who held power and who lost it. He wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was exposing the hidden playbook that the powerful already used. Long before self-help gurus and leadership seminars, Machiavelli decoded the mechanics of influence. Like a surgeon cutting to the bone, he stripped away illusions so that anyone willing to look could see the gears turning behind politics, business, and human behavior. This is what you're about to discover. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the shocking cost of unguarded goodness, how it drains your influence, invites manipulation, and keeps you invisible. And more importantly, I'll show you how to transform that same goodness into power, disciplined, strategic, impossible to exploit. These aren't tricks or shortcuts. They're timeless principles drawn from centuries of real-world strategy. Once you understand them, you'll stop being blindsided by ruthless people and start shaping outcomes on your own terms. If you've ever wondered why playing fair feels like losing, you're about to find out. And you'll never see being good the same way again. Before we go any further, let's make one thing clear. What you're about to learn isn't about becoming cruel or manipulative. It's about becoming strategic. True power isn't evil. It's disciplined goodness that refuses to be exploited. Most people equate strategy with malice because they've been taught to feel guilty for protecting themselves. But what I'm teaching you is self-mastery. Using your intelligence, timing, and boundaries so your kindness remains a strength instead of a weakness. This is the difference between naive goodness and strategic goodness. One leaves you vulnerable, the other makes you untouchable. One drains you, the other empowers you. If you're ready to stop being an easy target and start being respected for who you really are, drop this in the comments right now. I choose strategic goodness. Make it your first public declaration of self-sovereignty. Goodness as exposure. We're taught from childhood that being good is a shield, that if we're polite, helpful, and forgiving, life will protect us. The truth is the opposite. Being good without strategy doesn't make you safe. It makes you visible, predictable, and easy to exploit. Picture this. In a busy office, there's one employee who always says yes. He picks up extra tasks, stays late, and covers for everyone else. He thinks his generosity will earn him respect or promotion, but when the next leadership role opens, it goes to the louder, flashier coworker who did half the work but made sure everyone noticed. The good guy becomes the office doormat. quietly resented and quietly ignored. Or think about the overly nice friend, the one who never says no, who always lends money or time. People may thank them politely, but deep down they don't respect them. Why? Because their actions are predictable. Predictability is easy to manipulate. Niccolò Machiavelli saw this clearly. In The Prince, he wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Goodness alone is like the lion, strong but blind to traps. Cleverness alone is like the fox, smart but powerless against open attack. Without both, you're exposed. Goodness becomes weakness when it's automatic, when it lacks discernment, when it has no boundaries. People who only give without protecting their energy train others to take. People who never say no train others to expect yes. This isn't about being cruel. It's about recognizing that unguarded goodness is a flashing beacon for opportunists. Here's a real story. A manager at a mid-sized firm spent years mentoring younger staff, covering their mistakes and taking on extra projects. She believed loyalty and selflessness would speak for themselves. When a senior position opened, she wasn't even considered. The job went to someone who spent less time doing and more time showcasing. Her kindness had made her indispensable, but not promotable. She'd been used, not elevated. The lesson? Stop treating your goodness as a shield. Start treating it as a valuable resource you allocate strategically. Protect it. Direct it. Use it where it's honored, not where it's drained. Say it with me in the comments to anchor this shift. I protect my energy. The generosity trap. We're told generosity is a virtue, that the more you give, the more you'll be appreciated. In reality, unchecked generosity doesn't create gratitude, it creates expectation. The more you give without strategy, the less people value what you give. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. People quickly adjust to any new benefit and start taking it for granted. What felt like a gift yesterday becomes the baseline today. Tomorrow, they expect even more. In their minds, your extraordinary effort becomes the new normal. Picture the parent who constantly showers their child with toys and treats. At first, the child beams with joy, but soon the novelty fades. The gifts feel ordinary. The child's gratitude shrinks, and entitlement grows. The parent's good intentions have accidentally trained the child to expect more while appreciating less. Or think about the colleague who always covers other people's shifts, fixes their mistakes, or stays late to help. At first, everyone thanks them, but after a few weeks, no one even notices. It's just assumed they'll pick up the slack. When that colleague finally says no, they're treated like a villain because they violated the expectation they themselves created. Machiavelli warned about this dynamic centuries ago. In The Prince, he wrote, "Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. In other words, if you must be generous, do it deliberately and sparingly so that each act remains visible and memorable. Continuous, automatic generosity loses its power and becomes a trap. Strategic generosity is different. It means you give with purpose, timing, and boundaries. You make sure your efforts are recognized, not hidden. You decide where your energy and resources go, rather than allowing others to siphon them off. You protect your ability to give so that it stays valuable, rather than becoming a drain. This isn't about becoming selfish or withholding. It's about keeping your kindness from being devalued. You're not a limitless well. Your time, energy, and care are precious. Treat them that way, and others will too. Anchor this mindset right now by writing it in the comments. I give strategically. The mask of virtue. We're taught that if we're truly good inside, people will see it and reward us. But the real world runs on appearances, not on inner virtue. Society rewards the performance of goodness more than goodness itself. The person who looks kind, confident, and principled is trusted, even if behind the curtain they're coldly strategic. Meanwhile, the genuinely good person who shows all their doubts, frustrations, and mistakes gets judged harshly. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. In The Prince, he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This isn't cynicism. It's a survival rule. People don't read your heart. they read your signals. If your signals are uncontrolled, others will write their own story about you, often to your disadvantage. Imagine a leader faced with an unpopular but necessary decision: layoffs to save a company, cutting off a toxic partner, or enforcing a boundary that keeps the team safe. Internally, they may feel torn, but if they stand at the podium broadcasting uncertainty, the audience panics. Morale collapses, rumors explode, and rivals circle. That same leader, wearing the mask of calm virtue and decisiveness, can guide everyone through the storm. The action is the same, but the image changes everything. This is not about lying or becoming fake. It's about managing perception. You choose what parts of yourself to display and when. You decide how your standards, your boundaries, and your decisions are framed. You can still act with integrity while controlling how your integrity is perceived. The mask of virtue protects you from misinterpretation, envy, and sabotage. It lets you do what's necessary without handing ammunition to your critics. Most people make the opposite mistake. They reveal every thought, justify every decision, and hope people will understand. That openness feels noble, but often invites attack. Strategic self-presentation feels uncomfortable at first, but it's the difference between being at the mercy of gossip and controlling your own narrative. Start practicing now. Before you enter a meeting, ask yourself, what impression do I want to leave? Before you share a story online, ask, does this reinforce or erode my authority? Build the habit of controlling your image so that your reality has room to operate without interference. Lock this in with the affirmation below. Write it in the comments. I control my image. The economics of power. Every yes costs you something. Time, energy, reputation, even self-respect. Yet most of us hand out yes like it's free candy, believing that endless availability will earn loyalty. In reality, it drains your power and teaches people that your time is cheap. Think of the oxygen mask rule on an airplane. In an emergency, you're told to secure your own mask before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out trying to save everyone else, you save no one. Power works the same way. If you don't protect your own bandwidth, your purse becomes ineffective and your value plummets. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I said yes to every request, covering shifts, doing extra reports, staying late. People praised my team spirit, but quietly promoted the ones who protected their time. I ended up exhausted, invisible, and resentful. When I finally began setting limits, politely but firmly, my respect level and opportunities shot up. Saying no strategically signaled that my time was valuable. Others adjusted. Machiavelli warned about this centuries ago. In The Prince, he wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." Command begins with commanding yourself, your time, your focus, your energy. If you can't say no, you can't truly say yes. If you're always accessible, you're never rare enough to be valued. Power, like money, has an economy. You invest it where it multiplies. You withhold it where it leaks away. A king who gives away land to every petitioner soon has no kingdom left. A professional who gives away every weekend soon has no edge left. Generosity without strategy is depletion disguised as virtue. Here's how to apply it. Pause before agreeing. Ask yourself, what does this cost me? Budget your yeses. Treat them like currency. Communicate boundaries calmly. No need for anger, just clarity. When you start managing the economics of your own power, people treat you differently. They see your time as valuable because you do. You're no longer the open faucet everyone drains. You're the well that stays full and strong. Lock this lesson in now. Write the affirmation in the comments. I protect my resources. Strategic use of virtue. Most people think virtue is a blanket you wrap yourself in. Be good all the time and people will reward you. In reality, virtue works more like a sword. A sword must be sharpened, unsheathed only at the right moment, and aimed with precision. Swing it wildly and you exhaust yourself. Wield it strategically and people respect your strength. Look at the difference between two warriors. One waves his sword constantly, trying to prove he's brave. The other holds his weapon steady, drawing it only when necessary. Which one would you follow? Which one inspires loyalty? Virtue works the same way. When you're selectively generous, people notice. When you're endlessly generous, people assume it's your obligation. Machiavelli hinted at this when he wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He wasn't glorifying deceit, he was describing power. Circumstances change. Promises and virtues used at the wrong time can weaken you. Promises and virtues used at the right time can cement your authority. Here's a simple example. Imagine a manager who says yes to every extra request. After a while, nobody thanks them. They're simply expected to do more. Now imagine a manager who usually enforces strict boundaries but occasionally gives a well-timed yes, granting a day off, stepping in personally to solve a problem, making an exception for someone who's truly earned it. That single act of kindness lands like thunder. It builds loyalty instead of entitlement. Strategic virtue also protects your reputation. People know you're not a pushover, so your generosity carries weight. They feel grateful rather than entitled. This is how leaders in history built armies and movements, by mixing firmness with carefully timed mercy. To apply this, try 3 steps. Pause before promising. Ask if the timing serves you and them. Keep your virtues scarce enough to be valued. Deliver them with clarity, not apology. Strategic virtue is not coldness, it's effectiveness. It's the difference between leaking energy and investing it where it matters. When you control the timing and focus of your kindness, you become both respected and remembered. Lock it in now. Write this affirmation in the comments. I choose effective kindness. The illusion of gratitude. We've all been taught that if you're generous and helpful, people will remember and repay you. In reality, gratitude fades while expectations rise. The more you do for others, the more too. Not thank you for it. Think about a neighbor who's moving house. The first time you help them haul boxes, they're effusively grateful. The second time, they're still thankful but less surprised. By the 3rd or 4th move, they might simply call and say, "Can you come over at 10? No thank you, no lunch, no gas money." Your repeated favor has shifted from gift to obligation. The same dynamic plays out at work and in relationships. This is why repeated favors lose their power. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. People quickly get used to what you give and reclassify it as normal. Instead of building goodwill, overgiving can create entitlement and even resentment when you finally stop. Machiavelli observed this centuries ago. In The Prince, he noted, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." People judge what they see in the moment, not the effort or sacrifice behind it. They see the latest favor and assume you'll keep doing it. They rarely tally up your past kindnesses in a ledger of gratitude. This doesn't mean you should stop helping people or become bitter. It means you must manage the cadence and visibility of your generosity. Occasional, well-timed favors feel like gifts. Constant favors feel like duties. Protect the specialness of your help. Let people earn it, let time pass between it, and present it with clear boundaries so it lands as extraordinary, not expected. In practice, space out your generosity. Don't give so often that it becomes invisible. Communicate limits calmly. When you help, frame it as a choice, not an obligation. Let others experience your absence. It renews appreciation for your presence. When you understand the illusion of gratitude, you stop leaking power and start creating lasting impact. Your help regains its value, your kindness carries weight, and you're free from the invisible trap of being everyone's automatic resource. Lock this lesson in. Write the affirmation in the comments. I create lasting impact. Results over intentions. We've been raised to believe that if our motives are pure, people will see it and reward us. But the hard truth is this: the world judges outcomes, not motives. History doesn't remember what you meant to do, it remembers what you achieved. Think of a tough parent who insists on discipline, a strict teacher who demands excellence, or a high-standards boss who refuses to lower the bar. At first they may seem harsh or even mean, but years later their children graduate with confidence, their students excel, their teams outperform. The same people who once complained now speak with respect. Why? Because results reframed their perceptions. The nice parent or boss who let everything slide might have had warm intentions, but produced weak outcomes that nobody celebrates. This is the uncomfortable contrast between nice and good. Nice is about being pleasant in the moment. Good is about doing what's necessary to create a better result, even when it's uncomfortable. The world rarely thanks the merely nice. It ultimately rewards those who deliver. Machiavelli captured this dynamic with his infamous phrase often summarized as, "The end justifies the means." He didn't mean do evil without limit. He meant leaders will be judged by the final result, not by every single step along the way. If the outcome is stability, safety, and progress, the hard decisions that made it possible are forgiven, even praised. This is why your intentions, however noble, can't be your only compass. You must measure whether your actions actually produce the effect you hope for. Otherwise, you risk exhausting yourself on strategies that feel virtuous but fail. Here's how to apply this lesson. Define outcomes before action. Ask, what result do I need? Be willing to be temporarily misunderstood if it leads to a greater good. Review your results honestly. If the strategy isn't working, change it, no matter how good it feels. When you shift your focus from how you're perceived in the moment to what you're building long-term, your power compounds. People may grumble at first, but over time they respect the leader who delivers more than the one who only intends. Lock this truth in. Write the affirmation in the comments. I focus on outcomes. Legacy. Survival. Everyone dreams of leaving a legacy, being remembered for their impact, their ideas, their kindness. But there's a brutal prerequisite most people ignore. You must survive long enough and stay strong enough to create that legacy. Without survival, your ideas vanish. Your goodness disappears with you. Think about Steve Jobs. Love him or hate him, his resilience and relentless focus allowed him to build Apple, transform multiple industries, and then layer his values into those creations. Compare him to the countless unknown nice people who had brilliant concepts but lacked the strategic strength to protect and execute them. Their ideas died with them. The world doesn't celebrate the intention. It celebrates the enduring result. This is why strength is a prerequisite for goodness. You cannot feed others if your own table is empty. You cannot protect people if you're constantly exposed. You cannot leave a legacy if you're crushed before you build it. Many people misunderstand this and think that building power or enforcing boundaries makes them selfish. In truth, it makes their goodness sustainable. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't saying cruelty is the goal. He was warning that if you're only loved but never respected or feared, you'll be exploited and removed. Fear, in this context, simply means others recognize your strength and consequences. It creates the space for your values to survive. Love without respect is fragile. Respect, even mixed with some healthy fear, endures and protects. To apply this lesson, fortify yourself before you give. Build financial, emotional, and strategic strength first. Guard your time, energy, and mission so they can actually reach the finish line. Remember, your legacy is built by consistent action, not one heroic gesture. When you master strategic goodness, you're no longer the nice person whose ideas fade. You're the strong, principled leader whose influence echoes long after you're gone. Your generosity becomes enduring rather than exhausting. Your principles become a living structure rather than a fleeting moment. Lock this truth in now. Write the affirmation in the comments. I master strategic goodness. Closing power segment. You began this journey feeling the sting of invisibility, the quiet punishment of blind goodness. You saw how people with less talent and weaker character moved ahead while you waited for recognition that never came. Now you've learned the shocking cost of blind goodness. It drains you, exposes you, and leaves you at the mercy of those who weaponize appearances. But you've also learned something else. Power and goodness aren't opposites. Strategic goodness is how you survive long enough to make an impact. Each hidden truth you've just absorbed, from exposing the fairness trap to mastering your image, your time, and your outcomes, is a piece of armor and a tool. Together, they transform you from a target into a force. Now comes your choice. Will you keep being good blindly, hoping the world will reward you for self-sacrifice? Or will you start being good strategically, making sure your generosity has impact, your values have protection, and your legacy survives? Will you keep playing by rules that only benefit others? Or will you take back your agency and decide when, how, and why you give? This isn't theory. This is a turning point. The next time someone tries to guilt you into a yes, or test your boundaries, or pressure you to justify your standards, you'll remember these truths. You'll act with calm authority. You'll stop explaining and start deciding. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to step into strategic goodness and stop being the invisible helper, take action right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with one person who needs to hear this. And in the comments, declare your transformation with this phrase: I choose strategic goodness. Make it public. Make it a ritual. This is your cinematic challenge. Don't be a sheep in a world of wolves. Be the strong shepherd who guards the flock, who chooses when to be gentle and when to be firm, who survives to build a legacy. Your moment is now. The cost of blind goodness is too high. The rewards of strategic goodness are waiting. Step forward and claim them.